So I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome to the 2022 Whole Cities Community First Grant Q&A. As I mentioned, this call is really your time to ask about specific questions with your team members or organization or about the program. We'll do quick intros from our team and then we'll dive into things. So I'll start by saying I'm Diana Purcell. I've been with Whole Cities Foundation for 7 years now, and I am the Senior Grant Programs Manager, which means that I have the amazing opportunity to work with organizations across the US and Canada who are expanding access to healthy food and nutrition education. And I get to see all of the team members that support them through the Community First Grant. So I have a first row seat to all of the magic that you create in your partnerships. So I'm going to pass it over to Shantae.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shantae Williams, and I'm the Director of Revenue and Communication for Whole Kids and Whole Cities. I've been with the organizations for 2 years, and I essentially helped to create some of the collateral related to Community First Grant, get to meet team members virtually during meetings and tell them a lot more about Community First Grant and all things communication as it relates to the program. And I'll pass it over to David.
Hello, everyone. My name is David Ramos. I am the Digital Communications Specialist with Whole Cities Foundation. I support the foundation with digital communication and sharing all of the really fun and exciting stories that you help come up with and the amazing partnerships that you create. I will pass it over to Mary.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mary Tran. I am the project manager for Whole Cities since the end of 2019. I've been with Whole Foods since 2005 or 6, for a long time. And I just support all the details that come into play with communicating everything about our stories, our partners, putting it on the website, our newsletters, and just supporting our team in general. I will pass it over to Brittany.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brittany Reyes. I am the Grant Program Specialist with Whole Cities. I help assist the day-to-day operations for our grant programs at Whole Cities. So very likely that you will be seeing my name if you send any emails, and so happy to support you in this journey for Community First Grant. And then I will pass it over to Nona.
Thanks, you guys. My name is Nona Evans. I'm the Executive Director for Whole Kids and Whole Cities Foundation. My job is to support all the people you just met and make sure that they have the tools and the inspiration to do their jobs in the incredible fashion that they do. And this is a dream come true because I was around when we had a town hall meeting and a team member stood up and said, gosh, wouldn't it be great if we could let you know about organizations doing this work in our communities. So it started with a team member idea, and here we are today, many years later, being able to support all of these amazing organizations. So always use your voice at Whole Foods. I think that's my message.
Thanks, Nona. Thanks, everybody. I know that was a lot of names and a lot of information, but if you want to reach out to any of us, you're of course welcome to email us directly, but we have a simple solution, one-stop shop. If you're just not sure who on the team to reach out to, you can email whole.cities@wholefoods.com, and that will make sure that our team quickly gets it into the right hands quickly. So whole.cities@wholefoods.com, and we'll put that up a little later. So let's dive in. So Whole Cities' mission is to expand access to fresh, healthy food and nutrition education. And we build individual and community health through partnerships with community-led organizations. And the Community First Grant is a major way we accomplish this goal. Since launching the grant program in 2016, team members have helped us award 283 grants in 120 cities, investing $1.7 million. More than 160 team members from 85 Whole Foods Market stores, 11 regional offices, and our global support office have participated. If you haven't had the chance to watch our previously recorded Getting Started webinar, you can check that out on our website to learn more about our approach, what we fund and don't fund, and all the nitty gritty about Whole Cities and a little bit more of our history. Next slide, please, David. So the goals of the Community First Grant are to expand Whole Cities support for access to healthy food and nutrition education and support team members' passion for service. On the 2022 Community First Grant landing page, which you can, if you just go to wholecities.foundation.org and go straight to the homepage, you can click from there. You can find details about eligibility, what participation looks like, and hear from team members about what makes a great partner. The key dates to remember are May 3rd, which is when we opened the nominations, and June 15th, which is when the nominations need to be in, but also when we ask that the STL, FTL, or TL support forms are in. And that's a super short form. It's basically just a few clicks, but we really want to make sure that leadership is in the know when a team member is nominating a partner for a Community First Grant. One, so that we can just confirm that that is an appropriate action for the team member to take at their store, but also that they get the support from their team leader throughout the partnership, because what starts with one team member often evolves to involve many partners, many team members at a store, or even sometimes across the metro. So we just really like everybody to be in the loop. So next slide, please. So that's really it for our side. As I mentioned, if you want more information about Community First Grant, we've got a whole host of materials on our website, including the Getting Started webinar, but also an FAQ, our posters, our huddle topics, all the information you could want. And if something's not there that you do want, please just let us know, because we're always looking to improve what we offer and make it the most relevant that we can for you and your team members. But I really want to just open the floor and see if anybody has any questions. This is your time, so just let us know.
I'll get us started, Diana, because we typically get a lot of great questions from team members. And one question we get often is there a limit on the number of Community First Grant nominations you can submit?
Yes, thank you, Shantae. That is a frequent question that we get. And the limit is 3 nominations per team member. Most team members find it works best for them to nominate one partner, because part of the Community First Grant and really the magic of the program is that team member involvement. So we want to make sure that whichever partner you're nominating, you also have the capacity to support that partner throughout the year, volunteering with them. It doesn't have to be any certain hour commitment that you're volunteering with a partner. It's really what works for you and your organization that you're recommending. But we find one works most for most partners and team members. There are some team members who are just really connected to organizations in their community and can't choose between 3, and so they nominate all of them. That's just fine as well. We just like to see in the nomination that that partner is going to be really taken care of by not only our team, but by the team members. So that means having clear communication, having consistent interactions with that partner in a way that works for everybody. So that's what we would say. So a couple questions coming in, I see. What are the qualifications to nominate an organization? So there's a couple of things on the team member side, and then there's a few things on the partner side. So you can see this all written out on our website, but I'll just run through these eligibility criteria on the call. So one thing that we really look for is a team member who's in good standing. That's first and foremost. It really has to be originated by the team member. Sometimes we get questions of, well, can the partner just apply on their own? But because team member involvement is so important, we really value the team member nomination process. And we've heard from partners that they do too. I asked partners for a while if they wanted to just have a one-step where partners just apply. And they said, I actually really like that somebody's in my corner cheering for me and nominating me. And then if I'm not the right fit or Whole Cities isn't the right fit for us, that I haven't spent all the time applying for the grant. So that's criteria number 1. Another thing is having that STL support. So the support form on our website that team team leaders can access needs to be submitted by June 15th, as well as the nomination. And again, that just really helps us make sure that this STL supports this involvement in their store. On the partner side, we are really focused on long-term healthy food access. So that's our mission. That looks different in different places, but there's some common themes around it. So instead of thinking about hunger alleviation, which is increasing access to food today to people in need, so think about a meal or a bag of donated produce, we're funding for the long term. So we fund community gardens, mobile markets, urban farms, nutrition education programs, you name it. I mean, there's a host of different creative ways that our partners have increased healthy food access and nutrition education in their community, but all of it really focuses on what's going to be here in 5 years. Another thing that is really critical with nominating an organization is, are they locally led? So we really focus on organizations that have strong community support and are led by those who know the problems best, which are those who experience the problems every day. So we really see experience, lived experience, as expertise, and we really trust those leaders to tell us how we can best serve their community. So I would say those are the main things to focus on. Of course, as a foundation, we're focused also on funding nonprofits. So either an organization that is a 501c3 or one that has a fiscal agent. And you can just ask an organization when you're chatting with them about their 501c3 status, or if they have a partner that they can work with to get the grant. Those are the main things to focus on. Are the volunteer hours on the clock? So unfortunately, no. All of the volunteer hours are off the clock. And so Whole Cities and Whole Foods does not compensate for the volunteerism that team members do. It is one of the things that we really to post in the back of house when something's happening, when they have a volunteer day coming up, or post photos in their back of house of a volunteer that just happened with other team members. So while there's no on the clock support, we do ask that STLs feel ready to have their team member be able to talk about their partnership at the store. How do you decide how much the grant will be for the partner? So our grants this year are $8,000 per organization. An organization can request less. Sometimes they do, but most organizations request $8,000 on the nose, and that's just fine with us. We want to support in a way that works best for a partner. So if they request $4,000 because that's what works best for them, we're happy to fund that as well. I think I've gotten through all the questions in the chat, but if you also would like to unmute yourself, if you have a question, or if you're a team member who's participated in the past or is currently participating and you have any tips for team members who might be new to the program, please speak up. We always, we can talk about it, but it's so much, I think the strongest tips come from those who are participating in the program themselves. So please don't be shy. How many organizations will we pick this year? Our goal is 60 grants this year. We typically have grants in all eligible regions, which includes Canada and the US, unfortunately not the UK yet. And we have a special shout out for Canadian team members this year. So if you are a Canadian team member or no Canadian team members, we really want to make sure that they know that this program is for them as well. So in the past, we have funded 2 organizations in the PN in Canada, and we'd love to increase that this year, as well as support team members across the US to nominate as well. Great questions. So I don't know if Catherine, let me go down to my seat, and if I can put her on the spot, I see her in the corner there. Catherine has been a participant in Community First Grant for several years now, and now has another team member that she helped support their nomination in 2021. And Catherine, I'm just curious if if I can just put you completely on the spot about what advice you would give to a team member who's thinking about it, but unsure about submitting that nomination.
Well, I don't think there's any reason to be unsure about submitting that nomination. If you're thinking about it, just go for it, because there's a pretty good chance that you'll get your nomination through, and it can only help your community. And then as far as just tips, I think developing a relationship with that community partner early and letting them know that we are there to support them and want to be helpful to them and not a burden, I think is really key. And then they, think of us when they actually have needs. And so, yeah, just work on developing those relationships right at the very beginning.
Great tip. Yeah, I think it is all about relationships. As our executive director, Nona, says, our grants are a down payment on our relationships, and we really mean it. And I think some team members are kind of surprised that ways of getting involved don't have to include just a traditional volunteer day once a quarter at a garden. It can, and that works a lot for a lot of partnerships, but it can also be more custom. So I would say bring your curiosity and leave your assumptions at the door when you start talking to a partner about what you think they might need, because it can surprise you. We've had partners. I always like to talk about a partnership in Orlando where a mobile market has been a part of the Community First Grant since the very beginning. This is their 5th year that they've had a Community First Grant, and their mobile market team comes into one of the Orlando Metro stores and walks the produce section with team members. Not during COVID as much, but they're eager to get back there. And they've been doing it consistently for 5 years to learn about cold chain and merchandising and display and signage. And they say how valuable it is. And even during the height of the pandemic, they were saying, we know it's probably not the best time, but we're just so eager to get back there because it's been so valuable for our team to learn. So I would say, think about also what skills you have in your day-to-day work and offer those if those can be of service to your partner. If you hear anything from your partner that might suggest that's a skill that they're looking for. We had a team member at the on the supply chain logistics team who is helping a mobile market partner with their e-commerce store. That doesn't involve going into the field necessarily, although I think she's also eager to do that too. But I would say just bring that curiosity and open-mindedness.
And I think Elizabeth has her hand up.
Oh, thank you. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi. Hi. So I've never done the nomination before. This is the first time, but I have been able to actually participate in the store level. My first store, we were huge on volunteering for Bonton Farms, and that's down South Dallas. And like something that was a really big difference was actually letting all the stores know that that is something that you can volunteer and sign up for, because we had so much fun. Like we went, I think we had it like every 2 months we were able to sign up for like a weekday or a weekend, and you just coordinated it with your different department. So we had it within like a month or two, so we could request it, because for a store you needed about 3 weeks to ask for that time off. But it was a great experience, and you got to know different stores, like people that worked at different stores as well. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you so much for sharing. That's a really good point. And I think a few things from that I think can apply to anybody is plan in advance, because scheduling is so far out, so that it also really helps your partner when you are planful, so that they can plan out their schedule. As you might imagine, farms and gardens, they're changing all the time, but they also do have seasons. So they actually have more schedules than a lot of other organizations or companies that they have to stick to, because you can only harvest carrots when they're ready to be harvested. So I think that's a really good point. And I think your point about making it known to other team members, not just at your store. As long as the leadership at other stores is excited about that opportunity, we've seen really great things, really great support be leveraged from a metro that has multiple stores. And I think Stephanie Villalobos, she's, I mean, such a superstar and was able to make that opportunity available to so many stores in Dallas and Fort Worth. And I think it just increases the awareness of the program, but also, like you said, helps connect team members from different stores. So really good point. Victoria had a question about applying. She has a high school magnet school for students that are in need of nutritional education programs. Will this school possibly qualify ages 16 and older for a grant? So I'm going to start with the first part, and then I'm going to hand it over to Nona because I can see she's already, her gears are already going there. So typically, Victoria, we don't fund schools because Whole Kids, our sister foundation, does such a fantastic job of working with students. I will say there are a couple of exceptions. One is when, primarily it's when a school actually is serving a community as a food retailer. So we've had a couple of circumstances where a school might exist in a community where they don't have a grocery store. There's no other access to fresh, healthy food, and students are actually growing food and selling it at the school to parents. That has worked well. It's kind of a blend of Whole Kids and Whole Cities because of that, but it's really served a central role in that community's access to affordable, high quality, fresh food. But that is kind of, I think, the exception. Typically with a nutrition education program at a school, that would fall outside of our scope. But I'm going to pass to Nona, who might have some more information on the Whole Kids side to share.
And remembering to unmute. The exciting part of getting to answer this question is we have a foundation dedicated to improving children's nutrition, and most of our work happens at school. So Victoria, I would say reach out to me and let's talk. The kind of programming that Whole Kids offers that is open to everybody are things like salad bar grants and school garden grants. But just as Diana said earlier, you know, our grant dollars are not the most important part of our work with our partners. It's the relationship. So I would want to make sure that the school that you are working with knows about the Center for Eco-Literacy. They're a California-based organization whose work is providing nutrition education to California schools. So we can often help connect schools with resources. So definitely reach out. You can find me at nona.evans@wholefoods.com. And the good news is we have a new team member. I won't give you her name because she's still getting up to speed, who will be fully focused on this kind of work. We call it innovation work. So thanks for the question.
Thanks, Nona. I love all the questions and the tips. I thank you so much, everybody. So while you are thinking about maybe one more question, I see Chuck Oliveri is on the call. And hi, Chuck. Can I also ask you to share a little bit about your experience with your community partner and any tips that you have for team members who are just starting out?
Yeah, my name's Chuck Olivieri. I used to be a marketing team leader for 4 stores in the Boston area, in the city of Boston, actually. And now I'm a part-time specialty team member working with beverage, on the beverage end of things. But I want to say that, like, I wrote in my, I don't know, in the grant application or in one of the applications last year, that the most important thing, I think, is the more time that the applicant, the team member who's applying, spends like with the organization, I think that's the most important thing, because some of the questions that you answer and things are specific to things that you would know if you're there often, and because things change in nonprofits so quickly, that it's good to it's great to have other team members too, and someday I hope COVID will be gone, and and we won't be short team members in my store, and I'll be able to have people. But I like the idea of trying to involve some other stores in the metro area. But I think it's just really important to get to know the there's usually a smaller staff in an agency like this that we're talking about, and it's easier to get to know most of the people there and talk to them and see what their needs are and like what's going to happen if Whole Cities does give them a grant and things like that. Where's it going to go? And you can help. The more you know, the more you can do for the organization. And that I was lucky because I was a marketing team leader before, but I think that looking back now, you just have to be really interested and kind of not dedicated, but I could imagine myself working for the organization that I'm trying to partner with. And I think that's what's most important to me is imagining that, like, what if I worked there? Or, you know, like that, that's how important it is to me. But like I said, when I don't know how the other regions are doing, but we don't really have store meetings. We haven't for a couple of years now. And I think it would be so cool if we had a store meeting again soon. So I could stand up in front of the whole store and say, this is what I do. And it's easier than trying to talk to people individually or going to Barry, my store team leader, and getting him to talk about it. So anyway, like I just think that it's really important that you know the organization well and tell them what you're doing. I mean, if you go volunteer there, tell them what you can do and what you're trying to do to help them. And, you know, what if they do get a grant for $8,000, where would it go? Who would it help? But if you're volunteering and you know the people there, you'll have a better idea, and it's you can make the application more convincing and get more help from the organization to help you make it happen. Does that make any sense? I mean,
so well said. Thank you. And I love I'm going to say your quote now, because I'm going to start using it as the more you know, the more you can do. And I think that's so true. And I think to your point of also connecting when possible, I know COVID has just made everything hard from top to bottom, but to your point of making other team members aware in your store of how interested you are in the partnership, I think, you know, energy brings energy. So that can really help to spur other team members to get involved. And it also made me think about one thing in the nomination that we asked for. We ask a lot of questions. I'm always trying to make it shorter. Brittany and I do our darndest to make it as short as possible because we know you're busy, but we actually use every single question, all the information that you provide for different purposes. And one of those questions is about if you are no longer able to continue the partnership during the year, maybe you transfer stores or just it's not in your capacity anymore. Is there a team member, or who is the team member who would take on as the partnership as the point? And that's really important to us because we know that life is busy and things change, but that consistency is really important for partnerships because as one of our partners says, change happens at the pace of trust. So you need to develop that relationship with an organization and their leaders for that relationship to really grow. And so that's just something to know when you're thinking about your nomination, to talk to another team member at your store about, hey, I'm really interested in this. This is why the organization's amazing. Would you mind being my backup so that I can have this set if I need to leave or could step back, that you could step forward. So just something to think about. Well, fantastic points and tips and questions. As I mentioned before, we shared the whole.cities@wholefoods.com email address. It really is the fastest way to reach any of us, but of course we all have emails as well and telephones. So please reach out if you get off the call and you think, oh, I just wish I had asked this, or you dive into the nomination form and you're confused or just have a quick question, please let us know. I will just say we tend to get a crush of questions about 3 days before the nomination is due, and we tend to get about 90% of the nominations the last day. So I would encourage you, if possible, to get started a little earlier so that you're not stressed when you're doing the nomination form, and that we can get to your question as fast as possible. We try our best to be timely, but when it's all the questions coming at one time, it can take us a little bit of time to get back to you. So I would say don't hesitate. Even if you're not ready to submit the nomination form, you can create your login on Submittable from our website, start the nomination form, start looking at all the questions, and you can save it and come back to it. So just familiarize yourself with that form. I also will say, you'll see on our website, in addition to a link to the nomination form and the STL support form, we have a 5-minute training on, it's a similar thing to Cornerstone, where you can just quickly see all the eligibility information and all the nomination information, kind of walk you through step by step. If you want to have more of that information in addition to this getting started webinar and all the other information. So there's no lack of support. If you're ever feeling alone, please don't reach out. But I think I'm just going to ask one last time if there's any last burning questions. I don't see any hands going up or any typing. So I'm going to say thank you so much.
I have one quick question.
Oh yeah, go for it, Chuck.
Even if there were multiple stores involved, an organization could just get one grant a year. Is that?
I like the way you're thinking. But yes, it's just
Okay.
one grant per organization.
Okay, but you could you could work, but there could be more than one per store. If
So we actually
if
have
it's
had,
just
yeah, we've
the
had a
same
couple.
person or multiple team members.
So if multiple team members nominate the same organization?
No, if you have a store and there's either one team member willing to look at two different organizations, or two team members from the same store looking at two different organizations.
Oh yeah, good question. Yes, we support multiple nominations and multiple partnerships at the same store. And we've had quite a number of stores that have had 2 or more from different team members. If you had the question about can multiple stores nominate the same organization and they would get more grants funds, unfortunately it doesn't work that way. But we often, it's surprising, sometimes we do have team members who are at the same store or maybe a different store nominate the same organization. We catch that pretty early and reach out to those team members and say, this is amazing. There's already lots of team member engagement and support for this organization, but can we just have one point team member to keep all the communication channels streamlined? So the more the merrier in that sense, and the more the merrier in terms of having multiple partners at one store. Great question. All right, well, I think that's a good place to end us off on, which is more team member engagement is always great. So thank you everybody for joining the call and for your interest and dedication to Whole City's mission and your communities. It really, we can't say enough great things about the Community First Grant and all that team members have made happen over these past 5 years. And we're really excited for this 6th year to see what you think of next and who you know in your community that we can help support. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And our team is here to support at any point. So take care, and we look forward to hearing from you.